Hello, my name is Marius and today we're talking about how to actually take notes in class so that you can study less but ultimately achieve better results in your tests and exams. For that I've laid out 3 points why your current way of note-taking might be flawed, will introduce the Cornell note-taking technique and how to use active recall. Let's get right into it. For that we get started with how we traditionally take notes in class. You can probably imagine it quite well. Sit in class, have a lecturer in front of us who underlines what he's talking about with some form of presentation, with some slides, and you now write down every single word that lecturer is talking about, try to draw the graphs on the presentation as accurately as any way possible, and congratulations, you are bored as well as tired right now, because you are basically just rewriting what is already existent. This study material is already in front of you. It's not very engaging. But of course you're rewriting it because the fear of missing out kicks in. You currently think that your lecturer's words matter quite a bit. But do they? And to help you find that answer, I'm going to ask you another question. Have you ever been asked a detail in an exam that you could never find in any literature or on any slides? No? Well then, maybe your professor's words don't matter as much as you might think. In particular, if you're just rewriting it, if you just reread your lecture slides. Those study techniques work, but it's very low utility. In other words, there are study techniques out there that might be better. Nevertheless, in case you don't want to give up on this study technique yet, there's a note-taking technique created by Walter Pauck in the 1950s at the Cornell University. It's our second point on today's agenda, and it looks like this. Let me get my iPad because I actually created you a bunch of templates you can use. Here you go. For this note-taking technique, you have 2 columns and 1 line. In this main column over here on the left side, we're going to be noting our lecture notes, our notes from textbooks, formulas, diagrams, pictures, anything with extreme detail. This particular step, filling this left column out, can be done during class and nothing changes for you. But now, the right column is new because it's just for keywords, cues, equations, questions. Things that actually matter, things that are important. These will be your study prompts, what you're going to be using to learn. Because we don't have unlimited time, there's a lot going on in a lecture, we have to do this after class. Now below this lower line here, we have a summary. It's an area for your main ideas, for quick references. And because of that, you again will be doing it after class, preferably in your own language, so that you understand what is going on. And as I said, these templates here are available for download with a bunch of others like a retrospective revision timetable and more. The link is in the video description. But we want to level your note-taking technique even more because we're still just passively rewriting something. We're not actively asking ourselves questions, and that we change with active recall. Because your professor stands in front of you, shows their slides, keeps talking, and now you're not going to be taking notes in the traditional way, but ask questions. Your question should be, what the hell is the lecturer even talking about? What's the idea behind this principle? What can I take home? And what is actually necessary for my studies? So forget statements, focus on questions. Now you're actively thinking about your study material. Because as you've seen, the slides, lecture notes, literature, books, and even worksheets are handed out to you anyways. So there's no FOMO needed. You're not going to be missing out on anything. Now in the second step of this note-taking technique, we're going to be returning home with our list of questions and try to answer them as precisely as any way possible. And if we can't remember anything, then don't worry. Open your books, download the slides from today, and you review your answer. I want to quickly run an example with you. Let me just quickly step into the shoes of a professor, and you try to figure out what I'm talking about. So you're just going to be asking yourself questions, okay? So, Newton's law of gravitation was originally published in his Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica in 1687, with this law stating that the force of gravity is proportional to the mass of 2 objects multiplied with one another divided by the distance of the center of these masses squared. Later on, scientists discovered the gravitational constant g, with which we can calculate the gravitational force accurately. You get it? You probably can't quote me on that, but you might have taken some notes. Like for example, what does the force of gravity look like if we would be calculating it? This question is the number 1, most important one. But it might also be important, depending on what you're studying, that Isaac Newton discovered it. That it was 1687 when he discovered it. That was published in the book Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica. Those might be important details. So do you have the question? Well, as you can see, this study technique can be used every time and in every subject. With it, you're more structured because you already started revising in your lecture. You now get more reliant and will learn to study the right things. Because you now find yourself in an exam situation. You're testing yourself. What can I remember? And that being said, thank you very much for watching the video. Check out this one up here on how to create effective summary sheets. And that being said, see you all next time. Goodbye.